Okay, let's unpack this. You brought us a stack of fascinating material, all revolving around something most of us probably have, lurking in the back of our fridge right now.
Uh-huh.
But according to this specific source material, we're looking at excerpts from a particular book. It's claimed to be anything but ordinary.
That's exactly right. We're diving deep into celery juice today. And look, this isn't just about the latest health trend you see online.
Right.
The source material presents a surprisingly radical perspective, claiming celery juice is this powerful, maybe even miraculous healing remedy. It's packed with really detailed claims, explanations of how it supposedly works that are, well, pretty different from conventional views, and some extraordinary testimonials, too.
So our mission today is clear.
Mm-hmm.
To sift through this material as it is presented by the source, understand the specific and often, let's say, unconventional claims being made.
Definitely unconventional.
Extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from this specific perspective and see what surprising insights are waiting for you, our listener. We're here to guide you through this particular viewpoint.
Exactly. So you can definitely set aside the common idea of celery just being like a low-calorie crunch or a vehicle for dips.
Yeah, that's how we usually think of it.
Right. Well, according to the source material we're looking at, celery is elevated to something far more profound. It's presented as one of the planet's great answers, described not just as a food, but specifically as an herbal medicine.
An herbal medicine.
Wow, okay.
That definitely frames it differently right from the start. And the source includes a pretty unique origin story for this knowledge, doesn't it?
It really does. The author claims he was first led by God, actually, to recommend celery juice way back in the 1970s. First for a family member's back injury, and then later for acid reflux.
Okay.
But what's particularly striking in the material is the account from when the author was just a teenager working at a supermarket. Yeah, he claims that even at 13 or 14, he would essentially be holding these impromptu health consultations right there in the aisles, recommending and even juicing celery for customers dealing with things like arthritis, gout, diabetes, various GI issues.
At 13. Wow.
That's the story. There are anecdotes about it helping kids with coughs or calming down children after, candy meltdowns, and even claims of it helping with addiction, with recommendations of a pretty substantial 32 ounces daily.
32 ounces. That's a lot of celery juice. And you can see the impact this claimed ability has had based on the testimonials included in the material.
Oh, definitely.
The source features endorsements from some really well-known individuals. People like Kerry Walsh Jennings, the Olympic volleyball player, Craig Coleman, CEO of Atlantic Records, Lisa Rinna,
Jeff Marcella Valladolid, Lisa Gregorish Dempsey, who produces Extra, actor David James Elliott, author Jenny Mollen,
Kelly Noonan-Gores from the Heal documentary, actress Annabeth Gish, founder Amanda de Cadenet, author Caroline Libidet, and even a medical professional, Prudence Hall, MD, from the Hall Center.
Yeah, and you really need to pay attention to the language they use in these testimonials. It's incredibly powerful stuff.
Like what?
Well, people describe the author as a magician. The juice itself is called profound, a miracle, life-saving. One person calls it the ninth wonder of the world, and many explicitly say it's literally changing and saving lives.
So we're not just talking about feeling a bit better here.
Not at all. According to these testimonials, the claims are about fundamental, life-altering healing.
Okay, so clearly the source believes there's something far more at play than just, the basic nutrition you'd find on a food label.
Exactly.
It goes into detail about several unique components it claims are responsible for this powerful effect. Elements, it says, are unique to celery juice and go way beyond standard vitamins or minerals.
Precisely. The material delves into these specific elements it identifies as the key agents of change. The very first one it introduces are what it calls sodium cluster salts.
Sodium cluster salts. Okay, I haven't heard that term before.
Right, and you probably won't find it in standard chemistry textbooks. The source presents these as the ultimate pathogen destroyers.
Ultimate pathogen destroyers. That's quite a description. According to this source, what exactly are these claimed to do?
Well, the source claims they specifically target and destroy unproductive bacteria. It really singles out strep as a major one, even antibiotic-resistant strains.
Okay.
But their claimed role is much broader. They're also said to support the beneficial bacteria, strengthen nerve impulses and neurotransmitters throughout the body, detoxify and dislodge heavy metals, especially from the brain.
From the brain.
Yeah, bind onto viral waste and neurotoxins to help escort them out and address inflammation. The source describes them as the most powerful electrolytes on the planet.
More powerful than regular electrolytes.
That's the claim. It presents them as complete, activated, living electrolytes that bond together in a unique way, distinct from what it calls the partial electrolytes found in other foods or supplements. And crucially, it stresses they are very different from regular table salt or sodium chloride.
Huh. So this source is positing a completely unique form of sodium with these, well, extraordinary properties. What's next on this list of unique components?
The source also highlights the role of specific plant hormones found in celery juice.
Plant hormones,
Yeah.
like estrogen or something.
Not exactly like human hormones. These are claimed to literally feed and replenish every single gland in the endocrine system. It names the pancreas, hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, thyroid, and the adrenals.
Every single gland.
That's the claim. They are said to help balance glands, whether they're underactive hypo or overactive hyper. Alongside the cluster salts, the source describes these plant hormones as acting like a magic healing button for autoimmune disorders. And it says they're essential for the endocrine inconsistencies that the source claims pretty much everyone experiences to some degree.
A magic healing button for your entire endocrine system. These are remarkable claims.
They really are. The source continues by detailing the action of digestive enzymes. It claims these enzymes in the juice don't just supplement, but actually re-stimulate weary digestive enzymes produced by your own liver.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and enhance enzymes from food in the small intestine, ignite pancreatic enzymes, and specifically help with nutrient breakdown and assimilation that the body's own bile and hydrochloric acid might miss.
So it's not just adding enzymes, but claimed to be boosting your body's own enzyme production and function, like a kickstart.
Exactly, providing that claimed extra support, that kickstart. Then we have the antioxidants. Now, according to the source, these are claimed to have a very specific function.
Which is?
Removing fatty deposits that it says surround toxic heavy metal deposits, particularly in the brain and the liver. They are also said to neutralize and disarm oxidative material. You can sort of think of it like the metals rusting inside the body and then help disperse that material.
Helping to clear out that internal rusting process attributed to heavy metals.
Okay, that's the claimed action. The source also talks about hydrobioactive water.
Hydrobioactive.
Yeah, another unique term. It says this provides deep hydration right at a cellular level, something it claims regular water doesn't fully achieve on its own. And there's a prebiotic factor claimed to specifically feed the beneficial bacteria in your gut.
Okay, so we have the cluster salts, plant hormones, enzymes, antioxidants, special water, prebiotics. Anything else?
One more key component mentioned is a gentle vitamin C. This is claimed to be, well, gentle on the system, highly bioavailable, and easy to process even for someone whose system is compromised.
And its role.
Its key claimed function here is binding onto viral waste and debris circulating in the bloodstream and then escorting it out through the kidneys and skin. So it's helping eliminate debris that the source claims worsens conditions like autoimmune disorders.
So the source material really builds its case by pointing to this unique synergy of sodium cluster salts, plant hormones, specific digestive enzymes, antioxidants targeting metals and oxidation, this hydrobioactive water, a prebiotic factor, and this gentle vitamin C that's the engine behind celery juice's purported power.
That combination is presented as the absolute key. Now, the source is equally emphatic and highly specific about how you need to drink celery juice to actually get these benefits.
Okay, how so?
The absolute foundational principle here is the importance of pure, fresh celery juice.
Pure and fresh. And the source is very strict about not adding anything, right? I think I saw that.
Absolutely rigid on this point. The source claims that adding anything else at all, even seemingly healthy things like lemon juice, cucumber, apples, or particularly collagen.
People add collagen to juice.
Apparently so, and the source strongly advises against it. It claims adding anything dilutes the benefits, disturbs the juice's unique properties, and critically, blocks those claimed sodium cluster salts and enzymes from doing their work effectively.
That's a point that definitely goes against how many people use celery or make juices, blending it all up. Why is juicing specifically claimed to be essential rather than just eating celery sticks or blending it with the fiber?
Yeah, the source offers a very specific explanation here. It states that celery should be viewed primarily as an herb, and the juice is the medicine extracted from that herb.
Like making tea.
Exactly the analogy it uses. Like making herbal tea, you brew it to extract the medicinal compounds into the water. You don't typically eat the fibrous leaves themselves as the medicine. It claims the fiber in celery actually gets in the way of the sodium cluster salts and other components.
It's in the way how?
It says the fiber essentially burns them out and prevents them from reaching where they need to go to do their healing work. So while eating fiber elsewhere in your diet is still good and encouraged, the source claims the juice needs to be fiber-free for its specific medicinal action.
Okay, so extract the claimed medicinal compounds by juicing. Leave the fiber out of the juice itself. How much does the source recommend drinking?
Ideally 16 ounces for adults. That's presented as the recommended minimum to start seeing significant effects, though it suggests more can be beneficial for some. Children can have smaller amounts.
16 ounces. Got it. And the timing?
The timing is presented as crucial. The source strongly recommends drinking it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach.
Why then specifically?
It claims this is when the body is most receptive, allowing for optimal absorption and allowing those claimed cluster salts, digestive enzymes, and other components to work best without interference from other foods digesting.
Okay, empty stomach first thing.
Hmm.
What about having coffee or taking supplements? A lot of people do that first thing. How does the source say that should be timed?
Yeah, it addresses that directly. The source advises waiting. It suggests waiting at least 15 to 20 minutes after finishing the celery juice before consuming coffee or taking supplements. Ideally, waiting 30 minutes or more is even better.
And if you just have to have coffee first?
It says if you absolutely must have coffee first, then wait 15 to 30 minutes after the coffee before drinking the juice. But it notes this is less ideal.
Less ideal, why?
It claims the juice then has to work harder and may be less effective because coffee supposedly wears down the adrenals and stomach lining and is dehydrating. It also includes a fascinating little side note that counters common fears about citrus damaging tooth enamel.
Oh yeah. What does it say?
The source claims coffee is actually far more injurious to teeth, while citrus, because it's antibacterial and claimed to be high in calcium, is presented as healthy for teeth and gums.
Huh. That's a surprising claim that definitely challenges some widely held beliefs about dental health and beverages.
It certainly does. Now, with those claimed unique components and specific instructions in mind, let's look at the wide array of conditions the source claims celery juice can help address.
Okay.
The material frames this by asserting that celery juice doesn't just treat symptoms, it gets to the root cause of many chronic and mystery illnesses.
And the root cause, according to this source, is
Often unseen toxins and pathogens, specifically viruses. It mentions Epstein-Barr virus, or EBV, a lot, and bacteria like strep, along with toxic heavy metals.
right. And this is where the source really offers a fundamentally different understanding of many common diagnoses than you might hear in conventional medicine.
Precisely. Take autoimmune conditions, for example. The source makes a foundational claim here that goes directly against the conventional medical definition.
Oh, so?
It states that these are not the body attacking itself. It calls this a major misnomer in medical research.
So what are they then, according to this?
It claims it's the body attacking pathogens, primarily viruses like EBV, that are hiding in the system. It argues medical science is simply behind in recognizing this.
And celery juice helps how?
According to the source, the cluster salts directly attack these pathogens, and the plant hormones support and revitalize the endocrine glands, which it links closely to immune function. It lists conditions like Hashimoto's, Graves', rheumatoid arthritis, RAO, psoriatic arthritis, PSA, scleroderma, lupus, including the rashes associated with it, multiple sclerosis, MS, myalgic encephalomyelitis chronic fatigue syndrome, ME/CFS.
Wow, that's a lot.
And even Lyme disease, which the source claims is actually viral in nature, not bacterial, another unconventional claim. It describes ME/CFS specifically as neurological fatigue caused by EBV neurotoxins.
So the core claim for autoimmune is you're not fighting yourself, you're fighting a hidden infection, and celery juice helps fight that infection and support your glands. What about neurological symptoms?
The source attributes many neurological symptoms to viral neurotoxins, which it claims are produced by viruses like EDV when they feed on things like mercury in your system, and it's harder directly to toxic heavy metals like mercury, aluminum, copper, and lead lodging in the brain and nervous system.
What kind of symptoms are we talking about?
The source lists things like tightness in the chest, trembling hands, twitches, spasms, muscle weakness, tingles, numbness, restless leg syndrome, various unexplained aches and pains, brain fog, confusion, difficulty walking. Even conditions like Parkinson's and ALS are mentioned in this context.
And the celery juice connection.
The material claims celery juice helps because its cluster salts nourish and restore damaged neurons and neurotransmitters, help regenerate electrical impulses, disarm and neutralize those neurotoxins, and help gather and remove heavy metals. The plant hormones are also said to protect brain cells.
Connecting those unique components directly to nerve and brain function, according to the source.
Okay.
What about widespread digestive issues? Things like bloating, constipation, SIBO, acid reflux. Lots of people deal with those.
Right. The source claims these frequently stem from pathogens and weakened digestive function, often linked back to a sluggish liver.
For instance,
For instance, it claims bloating isn't just gas, but often caused by rotting undigested protein due to weak stomach acid, or HCl, and also from strep bacteria or SIBO off-gassing ammonia in the gut.
constipation is linked to strep, a sluggish liver, weak HCl, and worn-out intestinal linings. It makes a very specific claim about SIBO small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, saying it is always caused by strep bacteria and is often immune to standard antibiotic treatments.
Always strep. That's specific.
Very specific.
Yeah.
And acid reflux, it says, is often bacteria and toxins flushing upwards from the stomach because the system is overwhelmed.
So how does celery juice supposedly help with all that?
Its claimed actions here are several-fold. The cluster salts are said to kill strep, the claimed root cause of SIBO. The enzymes improve nutrient breakdown. It revitalizes the liver and stomach for better bile and HCl production, and it helps restore the texture and nerve endings of the intestinal lining for better peristalsis or gut movement. It also makes a unique claim that celery juice specifically targets unproductive bacteria like strep, while leaving beneficial gut bacteria and even beneficial Candida alone.
That's a very distinct perspective on gut health and the microbiome. How does the source link celery juice to mental health and memory challenges? The source connects issues like depression, anxiety, mood swings, OCD, even PTSS, to toxic heavy metals or viral toxins disrupting neurotransmitters and electrical impulses in the brain. Sometimes it links back to emotional injury too, but often emphasizes the physical triggers.
And memory issues.
Like Alzheimer's.
Yes, Alzheimer's, dementia, and general memory problems are specifically linked in the source to oxidizing heavy metals in the brain. It claims this oxidation process, like metal rusting, is accelerated by high-fat diets.
High-fat diets speeding up brain rusting. Okay. And the juice.
The source claims celery juice's cluster salts help by revitalizing worn-out neurotransmitters, cleaning and renewing damaged ones, and essentially providing complete healthy ones. They are also said to gather, disarm, and neutralize heavy metals and the oxidative runoff they create in the brain. The plant hormones get another mention here, supposedly strengthening the adrenals, which the source links to helping manage addictive behavior patterns, presenting a direct physical cause, or at least a major contributing factor for many mental and cognitive struggles. What about skin conditions? Eczema, acne, psoriasis?
These are largely linked in the source to pathogens, again, like EBV and strep, toxins circulating in the system, and a sluggish liver that can't filter everything properly.
So the liver connection again.
Big time. It lists acne, claiming it's specifically strep bacteria in the lymphatic system showing up on the skin. Dermatitis, eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, actinic keratosis are all linked to EBV residing in the liver.
EBV in the liver causing skin issues.
That's the claim. Also, lichen sclerosus, linked to EBV, lupus-style rashes, EBV, vitiligo, liver and viral issues, and even just dry or cracked skin are attributed to fats and toxins in the blood and a sluggish liver.
And the proposed solution.
The claim is that celery juice helps by cleaning the liver and blood, killing pathogens, and allowing essential oxygen to reach the dermis, the deeper layer of the skin.
It really does seem like a sluggish or burdened liver is presented as a central factor in so many of these conditions, according to the source material.
It's definitely a recurring theme. And similarly, many eye problems are linked in the source to chronic viral infection, heavy metals, liver issues, and, again, high-fat diets.
What kind of eye problems?
The source mentions conditions like corneal disease, blamed on viruses, diabetic retinopathy, which it links more to a sluggish liver and high-fat intake rather than solely diabetes itself, a nuance from conventional understanding.
Interesting distinction.
Yeah. Also glaucoma, blamed on EBV, macular degeneration, linked to heavy metals and viruses, and optic nerve atrophy, attributed to heavy metals, petrochemicals, and viral neurotoxins impacting the optic nerve.
And the celery juice mechanism here.
It's claimed to address the underlying metals and viruses, help restore liver function, provide its form of gentle vitamin C, which is good for eye health, and restore and strengthen nerve cells and neurons, including those critical for vision.
Okay, that covers an extensive list of specific conditions. The source also briefly touches on how celery juice's core functions are claimed to help a variety of other conditions as well.
Yes, absolutely. It basically applies the core claimed actions, pathogen destruction, toxin removal, liver support, endocrine support, hydration, providing those special electrolytes to a whole host of other common issues.
Like what? Give us a few examples.
Sure. Fatigue, which it attributes mainly to viral neurotoxins. Constant hunger, linked to weak stomach acid. Gallbladder issues and gallstones, it claims these are often caused by strep bacteria, liver sludge, and high-protein fat diets. And interestingly, it claims celery juice can actually dissolve these specific types of stones.
Dissolve gallstone.
That's the claim for certain types. Also, hair loss, linking it to stress on the adrenals and saying the plant hormones support hair follicles. Headaches and migraines blamed on heavy metals and viral neurotoxins. Hypertension or high blood pressure, it calls celery juice an equalizer that can help balance blood pressure, whether it's typically high or low.
An equalizer. Okay.
Insomnia, attributing it to various potential causes like viral neurotoxins, liver spasms during the night, a sensitive nervous system or nerve pain, or inflamed intestinal linings. Kidney issues, and stones again, linking stones to high-protein fat diets rather than the commonly blamed oxalates, and claiming celery juice helps dissolve them.
So it challenges the oxalate theory for kidney stones, too.
It does. Also, metabolism problems linked back to a sluggish liver. MTHFR gene mutations, the source claims these are often managed by supporting the liver, which it says is usually sluggish in these cases, and that the folate in the juice helps with methylation. Thyroid issues, blaming viruses primarily and saying the plant hormones help balance hypo or hyperfunction. Tinnitus, or ringing in the ears, attributed to viral or bacterial neurotoxins.
Wow, okay. Keep going.
UTIs, bladder infections, bacterial vaginosis, PID, all linked primarily to strep bacteria. And finally, things like uterus fibroids, cysts, endometriosis, and PCOS, which it connects to, accumulated toxins, viruses like EBV or strep, and resulting abnormal tissue growth.
It really is presenting celery juice as this almost universal tool that addresses a truly vast array of health issues by targeting what this source claims are the often unseen underlying causes, pathogens, and toxins, rather than just managing the symptoms.
That perspective runs consistently through all the material we reviewed. And based on these claimed mechanisms and benefits, the source then introduces the concept of the celery juice cleanse and discusses what it calls the healing journey.
Okay, so this cleanse implies a commitment beyond just occasionally drinking it when you feel like it.
Oh, absolutely. The cleanse concept, as presented in this source, involves committing to drinking that pure celery juice every single morning, usually the 16 ounces, for at least 30 days, or preferably much longer.
30 days minimum.
Yes, and this is also recommended alongside making other specific dietary shifts detailed in the book, particularly avoiding a list of certain foods it calls unproductive.
Why does the source emphasize the 30-day minimum? What's the rationale?
It claims this duration is essential to give the juice sufficient time to really work through the body's various systems and start addressing widespread, often long-standing issues.
Like what kind of issues?
Things like clearing out old sticky fats and hardened proteins that might be lining the intestines, supporting and decongesting a sluggish liver that it claims is often burdened with years of toxins and pathogens, cleaning toxic acids from the gut, reducing high levels of toxicity and fat in the blood, addressing chronic deep cellular dehydration, and starting to flesh out pathogens that may be hiding deep within organs and tissues. The source basically says celery juice has a lot of fish to fry in the body and needs that consistent time to penetrate and cleanse these deep-seated issues.
Okay, that makes sense from its perspective. The source also includes a section on what it calls healing reactions or detox symptoms, right?
Yes, and it's presented as really important preparation for the reader, for you, if you're considering this based on the source. It warns that as the body starts to clear out toxins and pathogens, some temporary symptoms can occur.
What kind of symptoms does it list?
It lists quite a few potential reactions, things like maybe temporary acid reflux, bloating, changes in body odor, feeling cold or having chills, constipation or the opposite, looser stools, dry skin, headaches or even migraines, shifts in mood, odd sensations in the mouth or on the tongue, possibly nausea or even vomiting in some cases, rashes, itching, or breakouts on the skin, increased thirst, and sometimes even weight loss.
And how are these framed? As bad signs?
No, quite the opposite. They are framed very clearly not as negative side effects or evidence of an allergy or sensitivity to celery itself, but rather as positive signs that the body is actively detoxifying, that pathogens are dying off, and that the juice is working. Temporary discomfort on the road to healing, essentially.
Okay. What about those specific foods the source says to avoid for the best results while following this protocol?
Right. It provides a pretty clear list of what it deems unproductive foods that it recommends avoiding completely or at least minimizing significantly while you're on this healing journey for best results.
What's on that list?
It includes eggs, all dairy products, gluten, vinegar, and it explicitly calls out apple cider vinegar, which is interesting because that's often seen as a health food.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, nutritional yeast, all fermented foods like kombucha, sauerkraut, pickles, soy, corn, all pork products, canola oil, and anything listing natural flavors on the ingredient label.
That's quite a restrictive list for many people.
It is. It's presented as key for faster healing, according to this source. It also mentions a specific related tool in the book, the heavy metal detox smoothie.
Oh, yes. Tell us about that.
Right. The source provides a very precise recipe for a specific smoothie that it claims helps draw out heavy metals from the system. It uses ingredients like bananas, wild blueberries, specifically wild ones, fresh cilantro, barley grass juice powder, spirulina, specifically naming Hawaiian, Atlantic dulse, a type of seaweed, an orange, and water, all blended together. It's presented as a powerful complementary tool to the celery juice.
Okay. Now, given the strong emphasis on PRE celery juice, what does the source say if someone simply can't get fresh celery sometimes?
Yeah.
Maybe due to supply issues, travel, or availability.
That's a practical point, and the source does acknowledge this can happen. It lists a few alternative options, but it's very, very clear that these are strictly temporary stand-ins and do not offer the full, comprehensive healing power claimed for pure celery juice.
What are the alternatives?
The first choice, the most recommended alternative, is pure cucumber juice, just straight cucumber juice.
Okay.
Other options mentioned if cucumber isn't available are ginger water, aloe water, or lemon or lime water. But again, it stresses that while these alternatives provide some level of hydration and cleansing benefit, they are absolutely not replacements for celery juice's unique components, especially those sodium cluster salts and its overall claimed effects.
So, while alternatives exist out of necessity, the core message remains. Pure celery juice is paramount for the effects described. Is this intended to be a temporary fix, like a 30-day cleanse and you're done, or is it presented as more of a long-term change?
The source frames the long-term commitment quite powerfully, actually. It suggests that drinking celery juice has the potential to become a lifelong practice for maintaining health. It uses analogies like comparing its importance to everyday habits, like wearing socks, or valuing deep relationships, like cherishing a soulmate.
Wow, that's strong.
It is. It acknowledges that interruptions happen in life. You might miss days or weeks, and that's perfectly okay. Don't beat yourself up. But the underlying aim presented is to always return to the practice as consistently as possible for ongoing benefit.
And what about the healing journey itself? Does the source suggest it's always a smooth, linear process of feeling better every day?
No, not at all. The material is quite clear that the effects can fluctuate, sometimes dramatically, from day to day. You might have incredibly good days where you feel significant improvements, and then other days where you experience symptoms, maybe those healing reactions we talked about, or just feel like you're struggling.
So it's not always easy.
Definitely not presented as always easy. It emphasizes that even if you don't feel obvious immediate effects, or if you have up and down days, the juice is claimed to be working internally on a deep level regardless. It says it's actively cleaning the liver, replenishing cells throughout the body, rebuilding the immune system, assisting the kidneys, correcting the endocrine system, and repairing the digestive tract behind the scenes. It offers reassurance that with consistent long-term commitment, you will eventually experience more and more good days as the juice works through the layers of issues it claims are present.
Okay. These are, it has to be said, incredibly significant claims, really far-reaching. And naturally, they invite skepticism, especially as they diverge so much from conventional medical views and understanding. Does the source material anticipate this skepticism?
Oh, absolutely. It tackles skepticism head-on. It acknowledges that it's a natural reaction, particularly given the unique origin of the information, which the author describes as hearing advanced medical healing information from a voice above.
Right, that's definitely an unusual source for health information. How does the source position its information relative to conventional medical research and science, particularly when it comes to chronic illness?
It presents a pretty critical view, actually. It claims that current medical science doesn't yet have the real answers for most chronic illnesses, stating it's still largely theoretical in this realm, and can be heavily influenced by funding, hidden agendas, and various biases.
So it questions the objectivity of science.
It questions its completeness and sometimes its motivations in the area of chronic illness. It claims that theories are often prematurely treated as established facts, While acknowledging science is evolving, it uses the example of the mesentery recently being discovered or recognized as an organ, even though it was right there all along. It uses that to illustrate that science doesn't have every answer right now, and that shouldn't stop people from actively questioning current paradigms and seeking healing elsewhere if conventional approaches aren't working. It frames its own information as being the leading edge, maybe ahead of where science is currently capable of understanding or proving.
And it directly counters specific concerns or myths about celery juice itself that people might raise.
Yes, it dedicates significant space to debunking what it labels as myths or misinformation. It strongly reiterates that add-ins are detrimental. It specifically calls out adding collagen powder, which is popular in some circles.
Why collagen specifically?
The source claims collagen supplements don't actually help build human collagen effectively, but instead act as a primary fuel source for viruses and bacteria, allowing them to proliferate, which it argues is particularly problematic if you're dealing with the very conditions these pathogens supposedly cause, like autoimmune issues or Lyme. So adding collagen is like feeding the enemy from this perspective.
So the claim is that collagen fuels the problem, while celery juice tries to solve it. That's a direct conflict.
That's exactly the contrast presented. Regarding fiber, it just repeats the claim we discussed. Fiber blocks medicinal components, circling back to that herb tea analogy.
What about things like goitrogens or oxalates? People worry about those with certain vegetables.
It dismisses concerns about goitrogens and oxalates as largely unfounded fear tactics designed to scare people away from beneficial foods. It states definitively that celery is not goitrogenic. And regarding oxalates, it claims that foods sometimes labeled as high in oxalates actually contain other compounds that counteract the oxalates. Crucially, it claims celery juice actually helps dissolve kidney stones and gallstones.
Dissolve them, despite oxalates.
Yes, directly countering the fear that its oxalate content could contribute to forming them. It states that kidney stones and even gout are primarily caused by high protein and fat intake, creating sludge and stones, not by the oxalates or uric acid found in healthy plant foods.
So it completely flips the script on the oxalate concern for kidney stones and gout.
Pretty much, yes. It also claims that concerning levels of nitrates and nitrites are not found in fresh celery juice, distinguishing it from processed meats. It addresses the idea that too much celery juice is bad, or that its diuretic effect is negative.
How does it address that?
It claims these are potential future attack strategies that will be used against the celery juice movement. It asserts the diuretic effect is actually natural and beneficial for kidney health, helping flush toxins.
It really seems the source anticipates and preemptively labels potential criticisms as deliberate attacks or misinformation campaigns.
That's certainly the framing used throughout that section. It calls the idea of celery juice significantly changing stool color a myth. And while acknowledging the importance of drinking regular water for hydration, it maintains that celery juice offers a superior, deep cellular hydration thanks to its unique electrolytes and hydrobioactive water, reinforcing its claim as the most powerful electrolyte source available.
It also offers a pretty distinct viewpoint on food sensitivity testing, doesn't it?
Yes, very distinct. The source claims these common tests, like IG food sensitivity tests, are often inaccurate.
Why inaccurate?
Because, it claims, pathogens and toxins circulating in the blood, which celery juice is supposedly helping to clear, can cause false positive reactions on these tests. It suggests that when someone tests positive for sensitivity to certain foods, or even to celery juice itself, it's often not a true allergy or intolerance, but rather the body reacting to toxins being stirred up or pathogens dying off during the cleansing process.
So a positive test could actually be a sign of detox, according to this source.
That's the argument. It claims these tests actually become more accurate after a person has undergone significant cleansing and cleared out some of these underlying issues.
So it essentially explains away potential negative test results for celery juice as part of the healing process itself. How does it respond to the common arguments that the claimed healing is merely anecdotal evidence or just a placebo effect?
It argues strongly against dismissing results based on these ideas. It claims these labels are often used unfairly to dismiss genuine suffering and powerful, real healing experiences. It puts forward the reasoning that if the effects were just placebo, people who have been suffering for years, sometimes decades, and trying countless other remedies would likely have healed long ago from those other things before ever encountering celery juice. It positions these arguments anecdotal, placebo as predictable tactics used to try and discredit the movement and maintain the status quo.
It truly seems like the source presents itself as having unearthed hidden truths about health and healing that fundamentally challenge the established order.
That's very much the tone and perspective. The source explicitly states that the growing popularity and claimed success of celery juice threaten to expose many other popular health remedies and approaches as ineffective or even impure by comparison.
And it includes a warning about the future.
Yes, a stark warning about future attacks on celery juice. It anticipates potential studies being published or pronouncements coming from authorities or experts that might recommend limiting intake, or maybe mixing it with other ingredients, which it says ruins its power. It frames any such future negative reports or recommendations as likely being part of an agenda-driven effort, influenced by competing interest groups, financial ties within the health industry, and inherent bias, all designed specifically to derail people's healing journeys and maintain the status quo of what it calls broken science and ineffective, trendy tracks.
That is a highly specific and critical view of the entire landscape of health information, and it anticipates a significant backlash against its own claims.
It is. The source absolutely positions its information as the definitive, untainted truth about healing chronic illness, contrasting it sharply with what it characterizes as information influenced by various vested interests rather than a pure desire to help people heal.
Wow. That was certainly a comprehensive journey through the very specific and often radical claims and perspectives presented in this source material about celery juice. We've covered its purported elevation from just a simple vegetable to a powerful herbal medicine.
Right. The sodium cluster salts, the plant hormones.
Those unique components it claims are responsible for its power, the very precise way the source recommends it be consumed pure, juiced, on an empty stomach.
16 ounces minimum.
The vast range of conditions it claims to address by targeting what this source claims are the root causes, like hidden pathogens and toxins.
Autoimmune, neurological, digestive, skin, mental health. The list is long.
Then the concept of the cleanse and the healing journey, including those potential detox symptoms.
And the foods to avoid.
And finally, how the source confronts skepticism, anticipates opposition, and presents its critical view of conventional science and health information.
Exactly. We've really tried to unpack the core tenets of this particular viewpoint on celery juice, drawing directly from the source material provided, aiming to give you, the listener, a clear and structured understanding of these distinct and often challenging claims.
Hopefully this deep dive has provided you with some surprising nuggets of knowledge, maybe a few aha moments about this specific perspective.
Yeah.
It certainly gives a clear overview of a viewpoint that challenges many conventional ideas about health and healing.
And perhaps to leave you with a final thought to consider, drawing directly from the themes presented in this source material we explored today. If, as this source relentlessly claims, many chronic illnesses are driven by unseen pathogens and toxins that current science doesn't fully recognize or address, and if, as it also claims, scientific information can be limited or influenced by agendas, where does that leave you, the individual, seeking real answers for your health? The source strongly suggests that sometimes the most profound healing comes from unexpected places or requires questioning the accepted frameworks. What does that perspective mean for how you personally navigate the incredibly complex world of health information today, and how you decide which approaches might be worth exploring for yourself?